All right. Welcome to another episode of the Best Damn Baseball Show here. I am Ash. Tonight on the program with me is Ty and not Jeff. Guys, how are you doing tonight? It's been an awesome week of baseball. How are you doing?
Good, man. It's been storming like crazy in Ontario, so I've done nothing but watch baseball all week.
How about you, Luke?
I'm doing great. It's not storming like crazy down here in Nashville, but it's hot. It's hot, and I'm staying inside and I'm watching baseball.
Yeah, I went up to the Reds game yesterday, and my goodness, it was really hot up there. I ended up leaving after the sixth inning just because I was like, I got to get home. It's too warm for me. So, but I had a good time. Been a lot going on in the baseball world. And I'm trying to even think about where we start. There's been so much going on. I mean, you've got the Oneil Cruz hustling stuff. You got the Cal Raleigh, just crushing baseballs. You've got what is Peter saying over here, Luke? If that former Cardinals catcher behind you, am I seeing things? Not sure what to make of that. I know one of the guys that you kind of wanted to touch on. We didn't have him listed in our buy or sell segment of the show tonight, which we'll get to it here in a little bit. But Ty, one of the guys you had mentioned in just talks earlier today, and in your new edition of MLB Studs that we have on our Substack, and that's a totally free article. So if anybody's watching, the link to our Substack is in our bio here on our YouTube page, as well as on our Twitter page. And that article is free on our Substack today. So go check it out. But keep watching us first, but then go check it out and read the MLB Studs of the Week that Ty puts together every week. But Ty, one of the guys that you've been hyping up is Jose Soriano. Let me put up the graphic that you guys put together here and just talk about Jose Soriano a little bit. I see he's soaring right now, according to the graphic.
Great work done by Luke on those graphics this week. I admit he's not a name I was super familiar with. I know a couple of managers in other leagues that might have been really high on him being one of their sleepers coming into this year for fantasy purposes. And it makes sense from a ground ball rate. He leads baseball in ground ball percentage at 65+%, which is outrageous. He also leads the league in home runs per nine, which is when you're getting ground balls and not giving up home runs, you're giving your team a chance to win. Like we said last week about Logan Webb. And 16 Ks through 13 2/3 against two big offenses in the Yankees and the Astros. I was really impressed. He started moving away from the fastball a bit this year and needing a strike counts, and is going for more of a sinker-heavy usage in that count. It's been okay. I'd like to see him throw it inside to righties more to get some broken bats maybe, and some check swings too. But those two stats alone, the ground ball percent and the home run per nine, is making for a really excellent year for an Angels project pitcher.
Yeah, and I think it's been really fascinating to watch him be so successful on the mound for the Angels, and that's been kind of a team this year that has been really fun to watch in their growth as an organization. Kind of out of nowhere, they made a lot of signings in the offseason that made people scratch their heads, and trades for some older veterans. But now here, coming off a 3-game win streak, they're 7-3 in their last 10 games, and they find themselves, right there in third place and just a game and a half back of the wild card in the American League. So they're right there in the thick of things, trying to make the postseason, which I dare say is probably very surprising to a lot of folks. Luke probably being one of those.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like you said before, there's been a lot of head scratching moves from the Angels. They've just been periodically bad season after season. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating as a baseball fan for so many years with Mike Trout, them not putting together a competitive team, putting together a playoff team. They had Shohei Ohtani for so long. But it's good. I mean, it's good to see success out there, and them pulling it together. Very exciting.
Yeah, and then, just segueing to a team that was considered to be one of the favorites and has played like that most of the year, the New York Mets. I just kinda wanna pivot to them briefly. The New York Mets have been kinda scuffling the last couple of weeks. As of right now, I'm not sure where this stands as far as, games finished today. I don't know when the Phillies played or if their game's over or not, but
I think the Mets are a half game up because I know they
yeah,
were.
that's what it has on ESPN, so I wasn't sure if it was just a deal where maybe the Phillies had finished their game and the Mets are still playing, I believe, but
No, the Phillies. I think the Phillies lost 2-1 to Houston, and I think did the Mets game finish yet?
That's what I was trying to see. Yeah, it did. They beat Atlanta tonight, so, now the Mets are back a half game up in the National League East. It looked like Griffin Canning may have gotten hurt, and had to leave that game tonight. So I'm interested in getting your guys' takes on the New York Mets and what they may, have to do as the summer rolls along, and we start getting close to the All-Star break, and just after the All-Star break, we'll be getting to the trade deadline here at the end of July. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the New York Mets in their season so far?
Yeah, I know. Ash, you're not upset that the Mets have been scuffling a little bit, and they've been scuffling against your Braves. You guys sweep them last week. Took 2 out of 2 this week, so tip of the cap to the Braves. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this last night. I mean, the Mets are in an interesting situation, right? Their pitching was so good. Their starting pitching was so good to start the season, but I mean, we said it time and time again. The law of averages were going to catch up to them, and it just seems like the law of averages are catching up to the starting pitching, and attrition is starting to pick up on the starting pitching as well. And it's crazy because they had so much depth to start the season. I mean, you look at the roster; they've had about 5 to 7 guys who could start games, and now you're down to what, 4? With Griffin Canning getting hurt, and we're also talking about a bullpen that's been really taxed this season, and now you're really starting to see their numbers go down. Their usages has been so high. I think last night the stat was I think the Mets are the most used bullpen in the MLB, and that impacts your team throughout the season, and we're only halfway there. So now you've limited the amount of depth you have at the starting pitcher position, and you're using your bullpen even more. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to get out of this. They're either going to have to trade for another arm or start bringing guys up like Tung and McLean.
Yeah, I'm interested in what they do here, because of the fact that they've now had just in the last couple of weeks, you had McGill go down with an injury, and like you said, the Canning injury. It does look like Canning is significantly injured, as Peter mentions. That it looks like it's an Achilles injury, which could be really bad. Steven actually mentions a good point, calling David Stearns for. David Stearns calls an old friend for Jose Quintana, which I was really surprised that they didn't bring him back in the offseason anyway, because he's been a pretty good part of their rotation the last couple of years, and kind of been a stalwart of that rotation in the last 2 years. So I really thought that he would be a guy that they would have kept, just from the fact that he can eat innings at times, and has been pretty reliable for them. If they don't want to look to the minor leagues, whether it's Jonah Tong, McLean, or even another pitcher that I really like in their organization is Jack Winiger. I think he's a solid depth piece for them as well. But if they don't want to turn to those, trying to obtain and bring in Quintana would be a great deal for them. But what do you guys feel like they're going to do? I feel like this could be a team that could be heavy on the trade market a little bit earlier than you might have otherwise seen.
Yeah, I think so. Like we talked about this last week. I feel like we're at one point last week the Mets had too many starting pitchers. They were getting guys coming off IL. We're like, what are we going to do with Frankie Montas? And where are we going to put Sean Manaea? What are we going to do with Paul Blackburn? And now it feels like Paul Blackburn is in your rotation. Which is that going to win you the World Series? I don't know, but yeah, I think we could see some activity from the Mets coming up here, and if they want to avoid using their minor league system to fill the gaps, they could use their minor league system to go and get a gap filler, whether that's a Zach Gallen, whether that's a Sandy Alcantara. I could definitely see like a Christian Scott on the move too, to make something like that happen, or like a Drew Gilbert. I know he's been playing well this year. But they do need to make a move if they want to stay competitive, because we know the Phillies are going to make a move to shore up that bullpen for sure. And I think when the Phillies rotation is healthy, their arms and legs above the Mets rotation the way it is right now. So they need to do something.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that they really need that frontline ace right now. And granted, Zach Gallen hasn't been the Zach Gallen of old, but that might be a piece that they could go get, hoping that he kind of rounds into form the second half of the year, or a Sandy Alcantara from the Marlins. Those are two names that you mentioned that I totally agree would fit right in with this rotation. The positive thing is you also mentioned Frankie Montas, and he looked really good in his outing the other day. So I think that that's encouraging for them. But just looking at their rotation right now, they've got those four guys, and then with Canning being hurt now, more than likely, they need to go get a frontline guy. I would hate for them to. How long is and I'm blanking on how long Senga is out for. Are you familiar with that, Luke? Because I can't remember how long he is supposed to be out.
I think it's going to be at least through July. It's definitely. I mean,
Yeah,
it's definitely past the All-Star break. I think it's through July. So, yeah, they're just again, it's just attrition is hitting them.
He's going to play
I
catch
wouldn't
off.
want to see them trade Christian Scott, because that's a name that I really like. I think that he has a 2-3 starter potential, and I think he was starting to show that last year before he got hurt. So that's a name I would not want to see them move. But they do have. And Peter says there's no timetable, but he said today that it's not going to be that long. Well, that would be encouraging. I actually don't think that Paul Blackburn is good at all. I don't think he's a starter on a World Series caliber team. This is a guy with a close to 5 ERA on his career. He's shown flashes where he'll put together 2 or 3 starts in a row, like when he made the All-Star game a few years ago. But he's never been somebody that's been able to consistently put a full season together. So I don't think that Paul Blackburn is really a viable option in the rotation of a team that has aspirations to get to and win a World Series. And that's exactly what Ram is saying as well. But I really like the suggestions that you made, like I said before, with Zach Gallen and Sandy Alcantara. I mean, who knows what Miami is going to do? But I do think that the Arizona Diamondbacks are an organization that right now need to start kind of looking at what's going to happen this year, and they may be wanting to get out in front of the trade market. So Zach Gallen is a name that could probably be had for not as much as what he would have cost in previous seasons, because he's not been the type of a pitcher that he has historically been. And maybe you can maybe you can get him for like a Brandon Sproat and then like a Luis Angel Acuna or something. Two guys that, maybe their star is not as high as it was a year ago, but still two guys that could be contributors for the Diamondbacks down the road. I really like that suggestion, Ty. And speaking of Arizona, this is a team with injuries as well. We've seen Corbin Carroll now go down with an injury, and they've kind of, that's a loaded division that the Arizona Diamondbacks are in. And so that's going to be very, very difficult for them to navigate this injury situation that they've got. And they've got a lot of pieces on expiring deals. I know, Ty, you were looking at that before we came on air and was talking about some of the deals that are expiring. So who are some of the names there that you think are pieces that they could flip? And if you do it earlier, you get a little more value back. So
I think obviously number one is Eugenio Suarez. He's been one of the better power hitters in the league the last decade. And there's a lot of competitive teams that need a third baseman. We talked about the Reds earlier today. We talked about the Yankees needing a third baseman right now to move off of having to play DJ every day. And then for me, I think the Tigers and the Cubs are going to be really heavily shopping for a third baseman, whether that's Suarez or whether that's an Arenado. It remains to be seen. But, the Mets too, like the Mets have a couple of those left side infielders that are kind of just puttering around in Beatty, Acuna, and Vientos that could work something out to bring over a Suarez if they want something a little bit more immediate, because none of those three guys have the offensive ceiling that Suarez is going to give you in a World Series championship pushing team right now. So I can definitely see a couple of their arms moving. Merrill Kelly's having an excellent year and is expiring as well. So I can see him getting moved too. And I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Gallen gets moved. Like, I know he's a little bit more controllable if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah, it's still in arbitration. But yeah, I think we're going to tell over the next couple of weeks if, depending on how the D-backs do, what they're going to do. But yeah, like Ash said, I don't expect to see them just fire sell everything on the roster right now. They have a competitive team, obviously. They're just riddled with injuries. So moving a couple of those mid-30s guys for someone who has more of a future, I think is something that we're going to see. And I would love to see Suarez go to the Tigers or the Cubs.
Yeah, I think there's going to be several teams, like you mentioned, in play with Suarez, but I wonder if they could package a couple of those guys in order to get a strong return back from somebody. Because one of the things we've seen in recent years with the trade deadline is these guys that are rentals aren't bringing the value that people would expect with some of the names involved in a deal. And a lot of times you're seeing only secondary prospects being moved. And in some cases, you're only seeing like maybe one or two prospects, and they're both secondary guys being moved for rental type players. So I think that's something to consider. And if the Diamondbacks were to get ahead of it, and maybe just before the All-Star break, if they don't feel like they're going to get back into contention, if they were to package a couple of those guys and move, like say that is, for instance, like with the Mets, if they were to package, say, Merrill Kelly and Eugenio Suarez, those two guys could really come in and make a difference for the Mets in a couple of areas of need. And having two pieces like that could bring you a pretty strong return.
Yeah. On the D-backs front too, another player that I'm looking at right now, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Wrong side of 30, player option for next year, club option for 2027. It's another idea for them to move, and they have a plethora of outfielders over there as well. So be interesting to see if they move Gurriel.
Yeah, that's a name that I hadn't really thought of as far as them moving. And Ram says that Ty suggested Suarez to the Yankees last night, and he thought that was interesting. I know you touched on the Yankees as well when you were just speaking a minute ago. I do think that would be a good option as well, but I kind of like Jazz at third base. I don't, you don't, Luke. I mean, you're the Yankees guy, so talk to us about it.
No, he's. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a super athletic guy. He has good range on third base, but he just doesn't have the arm to play third base. And I think a lot of like watching him play, he has too much range to play third base. Like you'll see a lot of plays that he'll like cut in front of Volpe, and it's Volpe's ball, and then he'll just airmail it over Goldschmidt's head. He's a much better second baseman than third base. And again, when you start getting into the playoffs and you're getting into these minute transactions of, one-run games, I would much rather have a mainstay at third base than, maybe a little bit more of a wild card at third, and have him at second base where he's much stronger.
Fair enough. Let's go ahead and move up because we're talking about Suarez now, and I know that I don't have it loaded. Give me a second here. I'll pull up the graphic that because I know Ty and Luke had started talking about most likely trade destinations for Eugenio Suarez. So I kind of wanted to see. I know we each had made our own little predictions pre-show on where we thought he might go. So Ty, take it away and introduce the topic here and kind of what your thought process was and who's buying Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah, like I said, we actually all three of us had differing opinions on where he was going, especially. You'll see it right here. The Mariners, I also love that. The Mariners need a big bat. I've been more on the Ryan O'Hearn to the Mariners train personally, but 100%, I think that we could see Suarez go back. Actually, funny enough, all three of us have teams that Suarez has already played on, so I feel like that's not a far shout to have at least one of these teams be the one that it goes to. But Steven's saying the Brewers are going to pop in and grab Gino. You know, it makes sense. What is it? Caleb Durbin floating around third base right now, and it could work. Like I know there's talks of the Brewers also shopping Freddie Peralta, but I don't want them to do that. Like I love Freddie on that team. Um, I really really think the Tigers have what it takes, both like MLB players active and minor leaguers prospects to get a deal done for him. And they've got some injuries to their starters too. I could see Emmanuel Kelly coming back on a quick deal like that because they want to make a run. Um, I would love to see, yeah, I'd love to see Gino go play for a young, exciting team because this guy has a flair for the dramatic. Was he like hit 4 home runs, 3 home runs, like in one game? This guy just seems to rise to the bright lights, and I think a team like the Tigers, being so young, could really use that veteran presence too on that team, and they could use some power too. So I personally would think the Tigers are probably going to do the best if they get this move done. I think it's going to change their team the most.
Yeah, and Ty, you talk about the bright lights. I mean, when you're making that trade at the deadline, you're thinking about October, and this is a guy you want in your lineup in October. He's a one swing of the bat, change the dynamic of the game, late in the game, hit that home run, and take your team to victory. So I think he's invaluable, and I think if the D-backs are shopping him, I think it's a good option for a lot of playoff teams. And I don't think we're just limited to the 7 or 8 teams that we have here. I think there's plenty of other teams that would love to have Suarez in their lineup. For me, I like the Mariners because they've been lacking at third base. I'm looking at their roster resource right now. They have Ben Williamson playing third base, and they have Cole Young at second base. So not a lot of depth in the infield. So they could definitely use the additional bat. And, as you mentioned before, Caleb Durbin at third base. I think Suarez is a much better bat than Durbin. I think Durbin has shown flashes throughout the year. He's very athletic, very quick. But I think Suarez is the better choice there for them. And then obviously explained away the Yankees. Tigers are an interesting option. And I think at the deadline, I think they're going to be shopping more for pitching than bats. I think, they're very top heavy with Skubal and Flaherty. After that, I think they're going to need another starter come October.
Yeah, and then Steven mentions that the Tigers and Brewers have the farm. So do the Yanks. Another team that I kind of think would have the bullets to go get him is the Cincinnati Reds, who I put on the third most likely. But I could very well see them the team to beat in this type of race because they do have a farm that I think could go get them. I mean, what if they put together a package that was like, say, Sal Stewart, Chase Petty, and Adam Serwiniski? I think that's a type of package that could get a rental player like Eugenio Suarez. And I just went to the Reds game last night, and I'm by no means like a big Cincinnati fan, so I don't want anybody to think I'm a homer talking. But my God, they started Santiago Espinal at third base last night. Like, this is a guy with no home run power. Like, that's a huge hold to me. And if you went and got a guy like Suarez, who by the way has played in Cincinnati previously, if you went and got him, then you permanently move I can't even say his name. Encarnacion Strand, Christian Encarnacion Strand, CES. You go ahead, you move him over to first base full time instead of having him bounce back and forth between first and third. I know Noel V. Marte may be back here in the next bit, but like my thing is about him is he's totally unproven right now, and the Reds have the arms in their rotation to make a push. Right now they have a plus 30. Let me look at it. A plus 34 run differential, and are 42 and 39 on the season. So they are right there in the midst, within striking distance of making the playoffs. And you just got to get there. And with that rotation, having guys like, like Aaron Abbott is having Andrew Abbott is having like one of the best seasons in all of baseball this year. He is looking like an ace. And then you just called up Chase Burns. I mean, in a short series, this rotation can lock down an opponent. And if they can just get some runs, which has kind of been their weak point on the season is actually scoring runs. If they could bring a bat like this into Great American Ballpark, in my opinion, this could turn them into one of the favorites in the entire National League. Not to mention just in the NL Central, because you get that guy in there next to Ellie De La Cruz. Ty pointed out before we came on air that Matt McLain has been playing really well. He's got like a 140 WRC plus in the last 3 weeks. I mean, that guy is all of a sudden swinging the bat well. And you'll have Austin Hayes coming back eventually. TJ Friedel, I like as a solid player. Solid player. So I mean, Encarnacion Strand has power. I mean, that's a team that all of a sudden could turn into one of those favorites in the entire National League if they could put a middle of the order bat like Eugenio Suarez into that lineup.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant to put him at third base over Marte. I think you still need to give him time to develop. I know he missed almost a whole year because of the PEDs, but he showed flashes before he was hurt, and I think he can come back and be a contributor. But I mean, Suarez could absolutely take over the DH spot, and I know he's not the best defender, so take his bat, put him in the DH spot, and like you said, put CES at first. And you just keep listing off these names with the Reds. It's just like, wow, this is a solid lineup. Like, you have McLean, you have Ellie, you have Marte, you have CES, you have Spencer Steer. I mean, these are guys who can hit, and it's just surprising to me that they're not putting up runs. And yeah, maybe Suarez is the missing piece for them.
And they're if they're going to make a deal like that, they're kind of running into a logjam in their infield anyways. Yeah. They've been coming into a logjam in the infield for I feel like 3 or 4 years now. It might be time to move like a Cam Collier or a Sal Stewart too, or Edwin Arroyo is in there still too. So I could definitely see them making a move like that. I think it's Jordan Lawler time, like officially. Just we talked about this a couple of weeks ago with what happened to Kobe Mayo and what happened to Heston Kjerstad and then what's going on in Boston right now. But like, let's get these guys some playing time and let's put them in, like, especially if you know that you just lost like your 2 biggest stars in I don't know how long Carroll's out for, but a fractured wrist, even if he comes back, who knows what he's going to be for that first little while. I would love to see Arizona take back some young talent and prep for the future, and not young like 18-year-old international signee, like young like, oh, this is a 2026 ERA or ETA.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and Arizona, I think we talked about before the show. It's not like you have to go through a full rebuild, right? It's a retooling. It's really a retooling this season because they're up there with the I guess the second tier teams in the NL West, because no one's on the same stratosphere as the Dodgers right now. But they could absolutely compete for a wild card spot when the season started.
And the Reds signed Matt McLain to an extension last offseason. So I do think he's definitely in their plans long term, which to your point, Ty, about the backlog that they're starting to develop on the infield. And with Sal Stewart and Cam Collier, if you have to trade one of those guys, which one are you trading?
I don't know, man. I'm going to look right now at what's going on for their years right now. If somebody has anything to
Cam Collier is having the best year of his career.
That's what I'm looking at. And like, maybe the power numbers haven't super come around this year. He's only got 2 homers in 30 games, but he's walking almost as much as he strikes out. But yeah, like I know people are really, really high on Sal, and the slash numbers aren't as high, but the counting numbers are excellent too. Like 41 RBI this year and 13 steals. He's got 8 homers. Like he's playing really, really well. And then you've got Edwin Arroyo too, who like might be maybe the furthest away of this bunch.
And he's just having an okay season too.
And he's just having an okay season, but I don't know if the D-backs going to be picking up another shortstop per se, like with Lawler coming. But yeah, I definitely think Cam Collier can for sure be moved. Like, and you've still got Noelvi Marte on this list. Like, this infield is getting to the point where like you're going to start causing problems if you don't start making some moves.
Yeah, I mean that's why they moved Jonathan India in the offseason too. I mean, it's just they had such a backlog, and he's a beyond serviceable second baseman as well. So they had too much going on in the infield.
Yeah, I think that if you're moving one of those two that I mentioned, I think you're going to move Sal Stewart, and that's not saying that I dislike Sal Stewart. I mean, he's a very good prospect, great hit tool. But Cam Collier has the pedigree, being the first, former first round pick by Cincinnati. They stuck with him when he got off to a little bit of a slow start in his minor league career, and now he is just really breaking out. Close to 200 WRC plus so far. I mean, like he is really looking electric. 60 grade power from that guy. I don't think that's going to be the guy that they would move out of those two. And then they've got, I'm looking up and down their organization. They have so many arms that I like, and we've already mentioned their rotation. Like I'm looking on MLB Pipeline. I mean, down here at 12, you got Adam Serwiniski, who I know doesn't get a ton of hype, but that's an arm that I really like. He's a 6'5" lefty and A-plus ball right now, having a very good year, has improved his command this year. And that's where I see a guy like that could be a guy that's included in a trade deadline acquisition for Cincinnati to go out and get a guy to help their lineup. But kind of, we've kind of touched on the Reds now, and we'll go ahead and lead into the buy or sell portion of the show tonight. That's something I kind of like doing because you kind of get to see different takes on people's viewpoints of players and teams and the trajectories that they're on. And we'll just lead it off since we already have been on kind of a Reds kick, kind of due to me like hyping it up, I think. But still, the Reds, are you buying or selling that this great American rotation come 2026 when they get let me just read it off here. Their rotation will look like Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Chase Burns, Nick Lodolo could be like the best fourth starter in baseball. Rhett Lauder and Brady Singer. That's 6 guys that are really good. Obviously Brady Singer being kind of the least of that, but that's why I had him listed 6th. I mean, could this next year be the best rotation in baseball? Are you buying or selling that this will be the best rotation in baseball next year? Luke, we'll start you off.
Yeah, I think it definitely has the potential. Chase Burns making his debut this week. Looked very solid to start. I think it was 5 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, first 2 innings. I mean, he was absolutely electric, struck out Aaron Judge. And if you're starting off your career striking out Aaron Judge, I think you're off to a pretty good start. And for him in the minor leagues this year, 1.77 ERA, 89 strikeouts and 66 innings pitched with a 0.77 WHIP. Like he was ready. Like he's ready to go, and he's going to be a great arm in the MLB. The question for the Reds is, one, can you stay healthy? I mean, Hunter Green has always had the injury issues year after year. And then the second thing is pitching at the Great American Ballpark. Are you going to be good enough to pitch in one of the largest hitter ballparks in the MLB? I don't know, but the way you describe it, Ash, they have a ton of depth at the starting position, starting pitching, and I think they're going to be at the top for rotation in 2026. I don't know if they're going to be the best. I think you're still going to have to compete with the Mariners, and they obviously have the advantage of pitching at T-Mobile. So I think they'll be at the top next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe best in the league is a little bit of a far shout for what's just going to be a sophomore campaign for Chase Burns. We know what happens oftentimes to sophomore pitchers, and league starts to adjust, and now it's your turn to do the same. So hopefully he'll be able to do it. And I have no hesitations that he's going to be able to do that and be one of the best pitchers in the league. I'm huge in on Chase Burns. But like you said, Luke, I'm still in on the Mariners. I'm still in on the Phillies until Zach Wheeler retires. If Luzardo is going to be this Luzardo as a 5th starter, that he's a number 2 starter on like most teams.
He's an ace. He is an ace on most teams when he's not blowing it up for a week straight.
Totally. When he figures out that other people can see him on the mound and he should stop telegraphing all of his pitches, he has a
softball glove, as his pitching glove. Yeah.
Yeah. So I I think Hunter Green is a top 5 starter in baseball when he's healthy. I worry about health when your top 2 guys in Burns and Green are throwing as hard as they do. But I definitely have them in 2026, 27 as like a top 5 or 6 rotation at their ceiling for sure. I would love to see Chase Burns roll right into an excellent sophomore campaign. That would be super high on my list of 2026 hopefuls.
Yeah, and I think for me too, I want to see his freshman campaign. I want to see how he competes at the MLB level. I mean, he ran through the minor leagues, right? For pitchers, seriously, like he just absolutely he did the speed run of the minor leagues for pitching. I want to see how he does against MLB bats. I mean, and everybody talks about it. There is such a large jump going from the minor leagues to the MLB. And if the first game is any sign of how he's going to pitch for the rest of the season, he's off to a very good start.
Yeah. I love a pitcher that shows some energy and shows like an interest in being out there. And obviously Chase Burns is that. We saw him all through college. We saw him through the minors screaming into his glove. But we're probably going to get there in a sec because Steven's in the chat. But Miso is like that too. And I love watching his starts. That guy is so hyped up. It's the 3rd inning. It's 0-0. It was 4-0 the other day. He got a strikeout. He was cussing at his glove. I love seeing that because that's the type of energy that I think pushes people to be better. And when you have that as a youngster, you're paving a pretty solid road. Yeah, so I'm not going to say that I'm selling, but I'm not going to sign my name off that they're going to have the best team ERA next year for sure.
And then Steven says, Chase Burns is a dude, not a Miz, but not too damn bad. Hunter Green is the ace. I agree that Hunter Green is the ace. And like you said, like you mentioned earlier, Luke, health is the biggest thing for this future rotation in Cincinnati. Because so far in their young careers, I mean, Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo especially have not proven to stay healthy over long periods of time. And then Andrew Abbott, is he going to be able to, finish this season out the way he has pitched, but will he be able to replicate it? Those are kind of like the 2 questions in my mind when it comes to what this staff is going to look like next year. But on paper, man, that is an elite starting rotation. May not have the home ballpark factor that some other teams do, but this is going to be and they're all young. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
young and controllable. It's like, there's like another team in the NL Central that could have done this a while ago, but they just decided to sell all of their pitching. Not naming any names or anything like that, but they could have had a very similar build.
And then speaking of another team in the National League Central, and it's been kind of a clown show in Pittsburgh. They are awful. I don't think I'm breaking any news by saying that. But this week we had the news reports around Oneil Cruz and his lack of energy and his lack of effort, and then being pulled from a game. Where do you guys stand with Oneil Cruz? I guess the question on my mind is, are you going to buy or sell that Oneil Cruz will be traded before the trade deadline this season? And this is his, the stat line here that Luke put together on the graphic. Thanks for doing that, Luke. But what do you guys think? Where is Pittsburgh standing with Oneil Cruz right now?
Like, I want to say that they're not going to trade, like, outside of Paul Skeens. They're the face of their franchise right now. Like, I would be upset if they moved him. But I also don't think that you're going to get what you should be getting for him while he's doing this. Like, if you are going to move him, that's fine. If you want to move your superstar, that's one thing. But are you really you're not going to get what you should be getting. And once this thing moves out of the screen, what's he hitting, like 205?
Yeah.
He's hitting 205. And yeah, great. StatCast loves him. Exit Velos love him.
Yep.
But he's turning bloop singles into inside the Parkers. Like, this is not the attitude of somebody that I would want to be paying to acquire if I was another team. Now, if you're going to let me trade for somebody outside of my top 50, yeah, okay, cool. Let's move him for, a 300 ranked prospect. That's all fine and good. But I don't think they're going to get anywhere near the neighborhood of what he's worth if they move him right now until we get like a major attitude adjustment. He's only got 10 doubles. Like, what is going on?
And Ram says rumors coming out today that he's lost face in the franchise and is miserable. Well, his body language lately has shown that he's miserable, and is not enjoying himself there. BL says drawing negative attention to himself. I agree with that take as well. Dos Swiss says, how do you think Paul Skeens feels becoming the third best pitcher in the division in the span of 3 weeks?
Maybe that's what happened to him the other day. Maybe he just got super shook. Everyone's talking about Chase Burns and Miso this, and he's just out here throwing gas and taking L's.
Luke,
it was just fun. Like, it was just funny. It was funny in the chat the other day with the Miso and Skeens matchup, and people were like, "Oh, Skeens sucks." Like, no, he's still pretty good. Like, he's still pretty good, and the team behind him is not very great though. But he's still a phenomenal pitcher.
Luke, are you buying or selling that Oneil Cruz will be traded before the deadline?
I'm selling. And there's no way. I mean, and I know the Pirates always find a way to surprise me, but there's no way. I mean, you still have him under control for another 3 years. Like Ty was saying, you're not going to get the value that you should be getting back for him based on his attitude. I mean, if I'm the Pirates front office, I'm sitting them down and I'm talking through, hey, this is what our plan is going to be for the next 3 years, and we need you to buy in on this. And hopefully they do have a plan for the next 3 years, because it just doesn't seem like they do. But yeah, and hopefully they can sell him on that.
And I don't blame him for being upset. Like, I don't blame him for wanting more from his franchise. But I also don't think that the Pirates are going to pull an Aaron Savali and just be like, yeah, you want out? All right, see you later. We'll move on.
Yeah. And it's two completely different players. But from my side too, I'm sorry, like, your numbers aren't good enough to hold us. Like, and I know they've put such a large investment in him, and he might be, he feels he can get away with it because they've invested so much into him. But I'm like, batting just over 200. I'm sorry, bud. Like, you can't be going to the front office saying, hey, I need to be traded with that, with that kind of average.
Yeah. I am going to buy. I do think that they're going to trade him. He's becoming a negative influence on the roster, negative publicity with their locker room and their fan base and their organization as a whole. There's obviously it kind of feels like Rafael Devers earlier in the season, where there was obvious friction between him and the organization. But my thing is, Rafael Devers can get away with this shit.
Yeah.
Oneil Cruz, I mean, who are you? You've got 1,300 plate appearances at the big league level right now. I think we've seen what Oneil Cruz is. Like, and this is where I do think at times that we put too much emphasis on like exit velocities and things like that, because this guy is the elite of the elite when it comes to those kind of measurables. But as for results, he's league average.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so bad defensively.
Yeah.
What's that?
At very best, he's league average.
Yeah. I mean, this is a league average player. Like, he's got a 97 WRC plus this year. For his career, it's 105. I mean, and we're talking about 1,300 at bats. We're not talking, or plate appearances. We're not talking about a guy that's just coming on the scene. I mean, this is the 5th season that he's played at some point in MLB. Granted, 2021 was 2 games, but still, I mean, 1,300 plate appearances. We see what he is. At this point, you are what you are.
Yep.
And that's a league average player a league average hitter.
Yeah.
But he's negative. He's not a good defender. I mean, we've seen some terrible plays in the field. That he was so bad at shortstop, they had to move him to center. And at center field, he's not been great. I mean, he's got speed that helps make up for mistakes. But when you let the ball go through your glove and then you don't even walk after it, that speed doesn't do you any good. This is a guy who's got a 33% K rate right now in the season. His career, he's never been in a full season. He's never been below 30%. You're not going to be able to produce striking out at those kind of levels And I think that this is a product of kind of where baseball's mindset has been over the last 20 years. Because there was a time in the early 2000s where, as fans, we were saying, well, strikeouts don't really matter, at least then they don't hit into a double play. But if you're not putting the ball in play ever, how are you going to get hits?
Yeah.
And this is the type of results we start getting when we say that strikeouts don't matter. In our minds as fans, that was like at a reasonable level. But when you find multiple guys across multiple teams striking out in the mid 30s and that kind of thing, I mean, it's not tenable to producing at any kind of winning level. And I don't think Oneil Cruz is an average player. He will never be a star. I know, Ty, you mentioned to him, this is how you're treating your star player. Oneil Cruz is not a star.
Well, but maybe, and maybe this is a discussion for the group too. Is it the player that's not making the adjustments, or it's the organization not giving him the proper tools to improve? Because he has the raw talent to be a good hitter, right? Why hasn't he been able to figure it out? Is it just the organization is just not giving him the proper training, the proper guidance? I mean, I would love to see him go to another organization and then actually look at his stats and say, hey man, you're striking out way too much. Let's make adjustments to your swing. Like, let's make adjustments to your stance. Maybe let's lose a little bit of exit velocity, but let's put the fucking ball in play. If the Pirates haven't been doing that for him, then they're doing him a disservice.
Totally.
I don't believe that nobody in the Pirate system has approached him about his approach to the plate. Like, I just don't believe that one bit. Like, even if somebody didn't, he can look at it and see that he's striking out too much, in my opinion. Like, to
me, Oneil Cruz has always kind of, right around the time he came up and people were talking about, oh, there's two big Cruzes at shortstop. Even then I was thinking, those two guys are not the same. Like, Oneil Cruz seems to me to be the kind of guy, I don't watch hockey, so when I see someone go, oh, his slap shot was 1,000,000 miles an hour, as a casual, I'm like, oh, he's the best player in the league. Yeah, when I see a ball go 120 miles an hour off the bat, if I've never watched a baseball game, I'm like, oh, that was crazy. Because it is crazy. Yeah. But who was that Aquino guy on the Reds a couple years ago who came up and just hit 700-foot homers and then no one saw him again? Right? Like, this seems to be the kind of player that we're moving towards having in Cruz if he is not going to make those adjustments. And like Luke said, maybe it's organizational. We talk enough smack about the Pirates organization and their player development on this channel that I think we all are aware of how we feel about them. But who do you think is going to replace him if they do move on from him? Do you think it's Connor Griffin time coming up? It seems to be a pretty popular move right now to bring up your first round pick tomorrow.
I don't think that Pirates really haven't done that though. They haven't moved guys up. Ram says Pirates really haven't developed a hitter since McCutchen. Brian Reynolds was solid for a couple of years. He's been a weird dude. I feel like he's one of those guys that seems like he aged early, if that makes sense. Like, he peaked and declined pretty rapidly. Did Josh Harrison, didn't he come up in Pittsburgh? He was a good hitter.
I thought he came up in the A's. Maybe.
I would have to. I know he played for Pittsburgh for a while, but for some reason I thought he came up there, but I guess not. Yeah, I mean, their development has been bad at times, but I don't put Oneil Cruz, his approach and being just like, I mean, like swinging for the fences every time totally on the organization. I think that he's a type. I mean, we've seen, how many guys have we seen over the years be completely a toolsy? They used to refer to the toolsy outfielders, and how often did they bust? I mean, because of George Lombard Jr., like George Lombard Sr. comes to mind really quick as one of those guys that was considered a high upside prospect, that was a toolsy outfielder, and he was never any good at the major league level. So we've seen this before throughout history, that these guys that they have the raw tools, but they can't put enough technical ability to use those raw tools. And I think that the Oneil Cruz is one of those guys. I don't have any faith that he's going to turn it around, but he could be one of those guys that benefits from a change of scenery, um, because then he's put into maybe a more positive mindset. Uh, and we kind of saw this, in my opinion, with Jazz. Um, Jazz Chisholm, I felt like was just wasting away in Miami, and at times looked miserable himself. Um, and has kind of come into his own and broken out of his shell a little bit, being on a brighter stage. So that could be a solution if he got moved to a team in a bigger market, where he's not considered like a guy that's going to have to carry the load. That might actually be a benefit for him.
Where Ash, like what do you think his destination is? Like where do you think, what team do you think best suits him right now?
Well, and that's the difficult part, because if you're a contender, you're probably not taking a chance on an Oneil Cruz in the middle of the season.
No.
So a contender probably is not going to make that move until the off season. And Oneil Cruz is getting ready to start going into arbitration and that kind of thing. So like that may be a motivation for the Pirates to move him, because he gets more expensive each year now.
There can't be that much swing and miss on the Reds. I'll die.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like,
Reds game again. I can't do it.
I think if the Reds offered Noelvi Marte for Oneil Cruz, I think that the Pirates would do that in a heartbeat.
Where would Marte play? Because you have Hayes at third. I guess you move Marte to second.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they would just figure it out.
Yeah.
Even if you put him in left field or something. I mean, I think that's a move that the Pirates would make at this point, just because there's so much friction in that team. And as of right now, like, Oneil has never been a star in Major League Baseball. So, I'm trying to think of like a mid-level team that, adding a piece could, maybe Texas. Could Texas be that type of team that would go get him? But I don't know where they're playing, because like center field, you've got Evan Carter playing. And you've got, you're not moving him back to shortstop.
No.
Do you move
a team that could use a spark?
Do you move him to second base? Do you move him to second base?
No, his arm's too good to put him at second base.
Sure.
The Rays are not doing that. The Royals, they could use life, but they're not the type of market that I think would energize him.
No,
I think he needs a bigger stage than that. Maybe San Francisco.
Maybe. Ty, what do you think about him in Toronto?
Oh God, like I feel okay about it, but if we're talking about him coming to my team, no, thank you.
Okay.
I would probably just not answer the phone. Maybe this is probably just like a personal thing. The minute that I see somebody miss a routine play, even if it's not a routine play, the minute that I see somebody make a mistake and then just kind of go, you're not coming to my team.
Yeah.
You're not coming. You're not crossing the border at all. Like, you can stay over there.
Customs is going to deny entry.
Exactly. I'm calling.
Sorry, there's no Oneil Cruzes allowed in Canada. No, Thank you.
I don't do well with that. And to be honest with you, Canadian teams do not like that. Like, there's been enough. We've seen it with Vlad, right? Vlad and Bo have had moments like this earlier in their career where it didn't look like they were busting it. It does not fly in Toronto. In Toronto especially, I can't speak to any like the hockey teams in the country and stuff, but we've never liked that. I don't know if you guys remember what happened after Roberto Osuna's whole fiasco.
Yeah, I
was at 2 games in a row just heckling my own closer. Get off my team. Get off my team. So I wouldn't want it. Honestly, send them to Miami.
Yeah.
Like, they seem to like that kind of like big flashy, right? We saw it with Jazz, big flashy outfielder. I think he could do well there. And it's a big enough environment that he's going to have fun, even if he's not winning. And I don't know him very well. Like, to be honest, I haven't watched a ton of Oneil Cruz content, read a ton of Oneil Cruz content, so I don't know what he's like as a person. But it could be fun. I don't know. I'd love to live in Miami.
What about Seattle?
Well,
with Julio, like who's gonna play right?
I mean, you probably have to move Cruz to a corner.
Yeah.
But he's got the arm to play right field.
I know this is so cliche, but I could see the Dodgers like grabbing at him in the offseason, like, and then just like turning him around, and then, just they look like genius, like, right? Like it seems like that kind of move for them. And they give up one of their, plethora of prospects that they have, and they're the Dodgers, right? And he's playing corner outfield for them, and batting 250 and still hitting those StatCast numbers.
Miami would probably take a big bat. BL says, I just don't think Miami is the type of organization that would suit his mindset and energize him. And I think that Miami just saw that with Jazz, and I don't think they would want to go to that kind of well.
That's what we're saying.
I also don't think they like acquiring bats in Miami too. So I don't
see that. But like that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Is like we've just named 15 teams. If I was the director of baseball ops on those teams, either I am underbuying, like very underbuying, or I'm just not playing the game. Like if you want to move him so badly that you're willing to move him pre-arb, mid-season, clearly I don't have to pay that much, right? So if it's going to be a move, it might just be somebody giving away, a couple of cents, maybe some cash, and say, fine, okay, we'll take him, we'll work on him, sure. And you stick him in right field, like we're saying. But I don't know a lot of teams that are competing that want to take a shot on a guy hitting 200, and a lot of teams who are not competing who want to take a shot on a guy that's not playing purposeful defense. It doesn't have to be good defense, but you have to try.
Yeah, it just seems like moving Oneil Cruz in real life is like moving Anthony Santander in fantasy baseball right now.
Yeah, like in CBL.
Well, let's pivot to a little more positive talk. It's kind of depressing talking about stuff like that. Let's pivot to another young player that has been through some trials and tribulations, but could very well be finally putting it together. And that is Joe Adell. This is a guy that on the season so far, he has a 120 WRC plus, which this is kind of a breakout for him, in my opinion. He's got let me pull up his Fangraphs page. But Luke, you put together this graphic for Ty. Adell was in your studs of the week, correct, Ty?
No, not this week.
No? Okay. I was thinking he was in your.
Outfield was Mickey Moniak this week, though. I didn't expect to be writing that name anytime soon. I'll tell you that. That caught me by surprise.
What I wanted to mention about Adell, though, is his strikeouts are basically the lowest that they've ever been. He's a guy that has always struck out way too much in his career. But this year his K rate is down to 25% on the season. He's slugging 487. Let me see here. The OPS 793, so right there, just shy of 800, is the best OPS of his entire career. This is a guy that I think is really starting to break out. He's got 17 home runs on the year. I really am enjoying what I'm seeing out of Joe Adell right now. And so I want to say, like, are you buying or selling the breakout of Joe Adell? Ty, what do you think? Are you buying or selling that he is actually breaking out and becoming a very productive major league player?
Yeah, I like this. Like he's having a really good year. The 6.5% walks is like meh, but 25% strikeout is super respectable for a guy that we know is going to swing for the fences. As a reliable like sixth hole hitter, this is a really, really nice profile. Like he's slugging almost 500, which is excellent. And he's 26. Like,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's still young.
See these guys becoming all-stars at 24 and like the Bobby Witts, but sometimes that's just not the way that it is. Like, and I'm liking his season right now. We were talking about the Angels last week and how they've been kind of a sneaky team, and I'm not really sure what they're going to do, but if he's going to keep hitting like this and Mike Trout can stay healthy, then they can make a shot at that wild card like we were talking about. But yeah, he's having a really, really nice year. Like he's not chasing a ton. Like he's lower than his career average in chase rate. Um, he's making contact like at a really good rate inside the zone too. And he's got his swinging strike rate is under his career average too, which I like to see improvements there. But this is a really nice year, and I don't expect to see a 290 batting average from him, but
No.
a 250, 260 would be excellent. With
a 260, he'd be an all-star.
Yeah, with 28, 30 home runs. Like this is a really great year that he's having here.
Yeah, I totally agree. Luke, are you buying or selling the breakout?
I'm selling the breakout. It's really based on the graphic itself. I mean, you look at before June 1st, his OPS was under 700. Over the last 3 weeks, he's put over 1,000 OPS. And to your point, Ash, he's a little bit over 700 for the season. It just seems like the last couple of weeks he's pulled it together, and we've seen this so many times with Joe Adell, right? He can put together the couple of weeks, and the fantasy owners are like, oh, this is his time. And it falters. It falters every single time. And you look at his chase rate, you look at his whiff rate, and you look at his K rate, they're not great. They're really not great. I mean, you're looking at the 30th percentile in K rate, 31st percentile on walk rate, and he's chasing 32.3% of the time. His whiff rate is 29.7, again, below the 20th percentile. And he's not squaring up the ball either. He's in the 4th percentile on square percentage. I'm not buying it. I'm really not. And I hope he figures. I hope this is the time he figures it out. But he's burned me so many times in fantasy baseball that I'm not buying.
Inside joke. He might be on the block again. That's a fantasy inside joke about Joe Adell. But anyway, I actually am starting to buy in. And to your point, Luke, like he did the same thing last year early in the season, and we all got excited again. But it just feels different. His swinging strike rate is at the lowest it's ever been. So I feel like he's just making better contact than he has ever made in his life. He's in the 99th percentile for bat speed.
Yep.
So when he makes contact, that ball's going to go. Like, I don't know. I really like what he's doing, and I am buying in that Joe Adell is here to stay. He's not gonna be a guy that keeps getting relegated to the background. And the Angels need it. If the Angels are going to compete for the wild card, they have to have Joe Adell be a productive hitter. Steven mentions in the chat he's still awful in the field and just can't hit enough.
Yeah, his fielding metrics are absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah, and I think when he came up, they were like, he's going to be Mike Trout's replacement. He's going to play center field. He's not even a corner outfielder right now. Like
he's in the 14th percentile for outs above average.
Yeah, no, he's not good. And I mean, I'm glad he's figuring out the bat because that's the only thing that's holding them together. Because it's definitely not the fielding that's keeping him up in the majors.
He's swinging at 46% of the first pitch. I do not like that. That is not a number that I like to see super high personally. I don't know how everybody else feels about first pitch swing rates. I know a lot of people, they compare that pitchers want to get ahead, so you might as well swing, which fair enough. That might be the case, but if they know you're going to swing, they're not throwing you a strike. So that might not work out in your favor every time.
We talked about Jacob Wilson 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure his first pitch swing rate is off the charts. He has ridiculous numbers this year. I don't know. It works for some, but it doesn't work for others. I
gotta look that up. That's a good point.
Well, and there are a couple things. You're just looking at his StatCast page. There's a couple indicators to me that he's even been a little bit unlucky. His expected batting average is much higher than what his actual is. And that kind of thing. So I think that there could be more for Joe Adell as we move forward. If he could just be an above average hitter, that's a guy that could really propel Los Angeles into staying in contention in that wild card race in the American League.
Yeah.
And we know, if nothing else, that Artie Moreno, if they're within sneezing distance, they are going to buy at the trade deadline. So they always make it interesting. We've seen it before. So if they're right there, they will make an attempt to get there. Speaking of the American League West, though, there's been a story in Seattle after they really scuffled last year. And kind of fell off of the contention in the West. But this year, the one guy is producing some offense for them at a historical rate, and that's Cal Raleigh. And this is listing his MVP odds right here, second only in the American League to Aaron Judge, which 2 years ago, if anybody was said that Cal Raleigh would be a future MVP contender, I'm sure a lot of people would have laughed in your face, because Cal Raleigh was kind of viewed as like a backup catcher at one point in Seattle. So this is a really cool story, and I think that the most interesting thing to me is the chance that he has a legitimate shot at breaking the all-time record for catchers in home runs in a season. Currently, that mark is set by Johnny Bench at 48 home runs in a season. So, the question for you guys is, are you buying or selling that Cal Raleigh will, one, break the home run record for catchers in a season, and that he will be an MVP candidate at the end of the year? Are you buying or selling that, Luke?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, good two-part question. And just kind of backing up your narrative here. Yeah, a couple years ago, was not thought as even the starting catcher in Seattle. That's why they went out and got Mitch Garver. There were some that believed that Tom Murphy was going to be the top catcher for the Mariners. And Cal Raleigh has risen up, and yeah, he's an MVP candidate. He is absolutely an MVP candidate. And I think he ends the season there. The batting numbers have been great. And I believe, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, he was a Platinum Glove winner last year, right? Maybe.
I'm not sure if he won the award or not. I'll look that up. You guys talk.
Yeah. Just, great framing numbers behind the plate, great bat. And I absolutely believe that he could absolutely break the single season home run record for catchers with such a historic season. Yeah, he's got a shot. He's got a shot at the MVP, but he's backed up against Aaron Judge, and I'm not going to say he's going to beat Judge for the MVP. I think that would be sacrilegious on my part, but he could definitely end up in the top three voting for MVP. Just the way his season has started.
And he did win the Platinum Glove, so that was a good call by you. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that adds a dynamic to the discussion that I was kind of thinking in my mind originally. Maybe they need to, if his bat's that good, maybe they need to move him off of catcher a little bit, which is one of the reasons why no catcher has ever hit 50, because a lot of these power hitting catchers end up getting moved off to save their knees. And I was kind of wondering, maybe they should, rotate him among DH and first base a little bit too, to just kind of save his legs so that they can get that offensive production. But that defense, you don't want to give that up either. So are you buying or selling the topic, Ty?
I'm buying both. Twice on Sundays, 3 times when he's playing. I also think not only is he on pace to break the catcher record, but he's on pace to look, depends on how you look at baseball history. If you're a purist and you say, the PED seasons don't count, or however you feel, he's on pace to hit 68 homers. Like, that's not totally out of the question. Summer's going to keep getting hotter, and he's going to keep on hitting. And I didn't save the graphic right. I should have. I would have sent it to you guys. He's hitting better catching than he is DHing, and by like a decent margin, as far as I can remember. But he's going to break the single season catcher record, like, no doubt. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago after pod. Who is going to stop Aaron Judge from collecting a Triple Crown? Is it going to be Cal Raleigh in home runs or in RBIs, or is it going to be Jacob Wilson in average? And to be honest with you, it might be both. And this isn't taking away from Judge. It's one thing to be able to do one of those things. It's another to be able to do all three at the same time. while Aaron Judge is also playing Gold Glove defense in right field. But like Ram said, it is a little sacrilege. Like, how do you not vote Judge? But playing catcher every day, he's played the most games out of any starting catcher. He's been involved in the most baseball games this year out of any catcher, and he's far and away his team's best hitter. If his team makes the playoffs, he is a top 2 MVP getter. And the only reason I'm not saying top 1 is because Aaron Judge is playing Gold Glove defense. If he was playing even league average defense in right field, Cal Raleigh's my number 1. He's beating him in almost every statistical category, and he, in my opinion, has less around him. Right, so I love Cal Raleigh. I feel like I've written about Cal Raleigh like 8 times this year, and I never get bored.
Yeah, I share the love of Cal Raleigh this year. I think he's such a fun story. Seeing him just mash the hell out of the ball for Seattle, as maligned as that organization is with their hitting over the years and not being able to have enough offensive output. The thing of it is, like, as we stand right now, I mean, Aaron Judge is almost a full WAR better than Cal Raleigh right now. Playing a less demanding position physically. So I don't think in the end that it's going to be close between Raleigh and Aaron Judge. I could be wrong. I'd be glad to see that. But at this point, I don't see anyone overcoming Aaron Judge unless he just goes into a ridiculously prolonged slump or gets hurt at some point. So I think I'm selling on the fact that Cal Raleigh will break the catcher home run record and be an MVP candidate simply because I don't think he's going to. I guess he could be a candidate, but I think it's going to be one of those years where like there's first and everybody else. You know what I mean? Like
it's been like that lately. It feels like in both sides.
Yeah.
It's been the Ohtani and Judge MVP, and you're going to have to do some crazy backflips in order to beat them.
Yeah. And even hitting 16 home runs the rest of the way could be difficult being a catcher. I mean, because that position takes such a toll on your body, and we haven't even come into July and August, which are typically the hottest months of the season. Granted, he'll be playing a lot of games in Seattle, so he won't have too much heat. But
he also did this past weekend. He hit 2 homers Friday night, and then he caught an entire 3-hour, one of the only 3-hour games this happened this year. He caught the whole thing, hit his 30th in the 9th, went to sleep, woke up Sunday morning for a day game, hit his 31st, and it was like 95 degrees. So I don't know. This guy just like doesn't seem to be bothered by things. Like he's maybe the dumper is really just like a Camelback, and he's just like always hydrated.
He played 153 games last year. That's unheard of for a catcher to play that many games in this day and age. I mean, in Atlanta, regardless of who the catchers are, they pretty much alternate guys almost on a daily basis.
Yep.
And here in Seattle, you've got Cal Raleigh last year playing 153 games. That's impressive. I mean, he's played 78 already this year. That's a high number for a catcher these days. I have mad respect for that because that is such a demanding position, and it can take a toll physically, and that makes it difficult for a guy to approach the numbers that he has right now. Man, a 658 slug from a catcher, a 191 WRC plus. Yeah. I mean,
it's crazy.
I did not see this coming with Cal Raleigh. I'm not going to lie.
We're going to talk about him a little bit, but somebody hit 6 home runs this week, and the only other player this year that's hit 6 homers in a week is Cal Raleigh.
Wow.
Which is like as a standalone figure is crazy. Like,
and again, the first 2 names I would go to is Ohtani and Judge have already done that, but they haven't, and that's a feat that you're doing things that these guys haven't done yet.
Well, and then speaking of catcher can cause some health concerns over the years. There's another organization that historically has been very maligned with keeping their players healthy. We've seen a litany of players in Minnesota injured over the years and robbing fans of seeing some of the most spectacular players in the sport, whether it be Royce Lewis or the case of a guy that should have been an MVP candidate just about an annual basis, and that is Byron Buxton. I mean, this is a guy who has only one time in his career had more than 500 plate appearances. I mean, he's 31 now. Like, only once he got 500 or more plate appearances. So we'll pivot to Byron Buxton. And I guess the question will be, will Byron Buxton at the end of this season be an MVP candidate for the Minnesota Twins, who are having actually a pretty disappointing year, basically out of the race in the AL Central and the wild card. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. I mean, he's got 3 years of control. I can't imagine being kind of like iconic in that Minneapolis area that they would trade him. But do you see him being a MVP candidate in Minnesota in the American League? And here is his Savant page. But I'll let you lead us off, Ty. What do you think about Byron Buxton? I think that's who you were talking about, intuiting a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I did. He did hit 6 homers this week. He had a huge week. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but MVP is a stretch. He's got a 148 WRC plus right now, which is really good. That's a pretty standout number. But he also only collected 6 RBI last week and 7 runs. And I know counting stats aren't everything when we're talking about MVP votes, but I just don't think you can be on a team that's not in playoff contention and be tops in the MVP talks unless your name is Mike Trout and you're like,
or Ohtani,
the world on fire, or Ohtani at the same time. Exactly.
Or Giancarlo Stanton in 2017. Yeah.
Who's like, look, if Byron Buxton hits 60 home runs this year, give it to him. Cool. But even then, Cal Raleigh's going to hit 60 and Aaron Judge is going to hit 58 again. So yeah, I don't think so. Like, he's well on his way to having maybe, depending on how his legs keep feeling, maybe even having a 30-30 season, which would be exactly who we thought he was. But a 30-30 season isn't an MVP, right? There's going to be guys this year who probably go 40-40, right? Like, we've seen
even
guys
doing it at center field.
Like, I don't know, maybe. But if we're talking a candidate, I've got 2 ahead of him easily. And I would I put Tarek Skubal in MVP conversations? I don't know how everybody feels about pitchers winning MVP, but if we're talking about what someone does for their team, yeah, Bucks is definitely up there. Clearly he's like the only guy doing anything offensively on that team right now, considering he only scored 1 extra run beyond his own self-created runs. I hope so. I really hope he does. Actually, on the year, he's got 47 RBI and 47 runs, which is kind of interesting. You don't see that very often. He's a good player. He's just having a Byron Buxton ceiling year. And that's awesome. Like, that's exactly what I want to see. When I wrote about Christian Yelich, Mickey Moniak, and Byron Buxton at the same time this week, I had to check my watch that I wasn't like going back in time. Like, it feels like 2017. But I'm happy for him. Like, it's really exciting. His Savant page is red in the places you want it to be red. It's blue in the places it's probably going to be blue in for the rest of his career too. MVP candidate, no. All-Star, definitely. I've been voting for him as an All-Star.
I think he's got to be a shoo-in for the All-Star game, right?
My votes are Judge, Riley Green, and Buxton personally for the AL.
Luke, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm with Ty, and I think he's having a great season, and I think he's really hitting his stride. And I think we see flashes of this over previous seasons, but this is going to be gratuitous when I say this, but 2016, 92 games, 2017, 140 games. That's the only time he's gotten over 120 games is 2017. 2018, 28 games. 2019, 87 games. 2020, shortened season, 39 games. 2021, 61. 2022, 92. 2023, 85. 2024, he played over 100 games for the first time in 7 years? He can't stay on the field, and it's not a sustainable formula for him to be MVP. And it sucks. It sucks because you see flashes of a really great player, and he just can't stay
healthy. He should have been a Hall of Famer.
He could have been. You're absolutely right. He could have absolutely been a Hall of Famer. He could have perennial all-star year after year, in the MVP discussions year after year, and he just cannot stay healthy. And it sucks. And I'm selling on him being an MVP because of that. One of the things I do want to note outside of the MVP is, and I know I put it up on the graphic, but that spray chart, oh my goodness, he pulls the ball like crazy. And I did not realize that. I mean, look at all his home runs are to left field, all of his singles, he has a couple of doubles to the opposite field, but the dude is just pulling the ball to right field right now. Left field right now. It's insane. And the other thing too, I want to note, even with all of the injuries, he's still the 100th percentile for sprint speed.
I know that was what I went there in the defense. Those were the two things that
so
he
hasn't lost his step from all the injuries. It's just he can't stay on the field, and that's why I'm selling on him being an MVP candidate.
Definitely think he's gonna have a clear year. I just don't think
I mean, and it's like you said, he's definitely on pace to do 30-30, but he's got to stay healthy. And I look at it, and he's at 17 home runs and 13 RBIs. He's probably going to end the season 2020. And it's disappointing. Because he's just going to knock himself out.
Yeah. He's encroaching upon his career average games played. I'm just eyeballing it looking.
Right.
65 games seems to be kind of the mid-mark for what a season for him has looked like throughout his career. And if he makes it to playing 81 games, I would consider that a success right now. And I would consider 81 games of him maybe going 25-20 to be a good year for a baseball player, but it's not even a mid-year for an MVP conversation. I would love to see him do it. He's my Joe Adell. He's burned me so many times in fantasy.
He is Joe Adell. He is literally Joe Adell.
Though. The reasons are much different.
Yeah. Totally. And honestly, it kind of hurts more because you're taking Joe Adell in the 12th, 13th, 14th of a redraft because you need an extra fourth outfielder, and I'm taking Byron Buxton top 60 because I'm expecting him to go 30-30. And he just isn't that guy. And Royce Lewis, same thing. I do not know what is going on in Minnesota with all of this health. It makes sense that Byron Buxton maybe has to deal with more injury concerns, playing the position he plays and playing so hard in center field. That guy will run through the wall. He doesn't care. He makes diving leaps once a game. He's gonna bruise up. Royce Lewis, I do not know what is going on there. All of these non-contact and the injuries and stuff is just, it's a worry for an athlete, and we're seeing so much of it. What did we just say? Griffin Canning just did his Achilles. It was 8 or 9 Achilles tears in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
I don't know what is going on in sports right now that we're seeing this. A lot of people think it's just the aggressiveness that we're expecting and the constant 100-mile-an-hour gas every time you throw a pitch kind of thing. But it's a bummer because the Twins could have had something really, really good. Their pitching staff last couple of years has been really good too. I was expecting them to be more, but not with all these injuries.
Well, their pitching staff's been awful this year. I mean, Bailey Ober's been horrendous. Bailey Ober
might be the worst player in baseball right now.
He pitched 7 innings. He pitched 7 innings this week, but let up 7 earned runs. And
they're just going, okay, you can keep it. It's your game. You pitch the whole thing. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know Pablo Lopez he's been hurt. He's been hurt this year too. Gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Look at that. Look at those Saban pages. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's wild. I mean, you look at the bat speed is very similar on both of them.
And then look at their defense comparison though.
Well, the defense is not comparable, but the bats are very similar here. I mean, they're not squaring up the ball well. Their chase rates are below average. Their whiff rate is below average, and their K rates and their walk rates are below average. So, but they can, when they make contact, it's hard hit. It's hard hit.
Yeah. Man, Buxton might be one of the strongest center fielders in baseball. In terms of just raw physical strength, he's a monster. And maybe that is what's taking a toll on you. We've seen that kind of thing with Stanton too, where sometimes just being like a massive guy is really hard on your body.
Yeah.
I don't know in my entire life if there's one player that has been more frustrating from a health standpoint than Byron Buxton. I mean, in his career, like
Mike Trout,
he's played over
Mike Trout and
Trout, but Trout's been even more healthy than Byron Buxton.
Yeah. I would say, I would put him up in the category of Mike Trout and, like you mentioned, Stanton as well. I mean, just again, phenomenal athletes that just cannot stay healthy. And the fear with Judge for a long time was he's just going to be, replicated of Stanton, right? But he's found a way to, stay healthy even with his body type. I know he was injured 2 years ago, but that was more of a freak accident of him trying to run through a freaking wall, But I think the Yankees made a lot of adjustments with Judge, and I think one of the things they talked about a couple of years ago, and again, the same year he got hurt for running through a wall, was doing yoga and like relaxing your muscles a little bit more. I don't know if the Twins are picking up on that. And, we've talked about how the Twins have been so maligned, and I'm totally blanking on his name, but who's the prospect? He was a left-handed hitting prospect, and he could not stay healthy. I can't think of his name.
Alex Kirilloff.
Yeah. I mean, that was
wrist injuries ruined his career.
That was rough too. I mean, that was rough to watch. And I know Correa, when he became a free agent, the injuries were really talked about. He's had a hard time staying on the field as well for the Twins. So I don't know what's going on. There's something in the Gatorade there that they can't keep their guys healthy.
It looks like we have somebody joining us. What's going on, JT?
What's up? I'm sitting here at work. Man.
What do you think about Byron Buxton?
Dude, Byron Buxton will make you or break you. If you got him, you're hoping for, you're just hoping he's healthy. Which one of you guys said he was Joe Adell? Joe Adell is the strobe light honey. He looks good for a minute, then you sober up and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? But Buxton always hits. He just gets hurt. It's a little different. Buxton's a monster. He's just always hurt.
Why does Not Jeff looks like he's being held hostage in someone's basement?
Please send water, please.
What I was going to say is, like, I think the Giancarlo Stanton, you mentioned him, and like he might be actually the one that's more frustrating to me than Byron Buxton, because in my opinion, if Giancarlo Stanton had had a healthy career, we're talking about inner circle Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of all time. And like Buxton would have been a Hall of Famer, but Stanton, we'd have been talking about him up there with like Willie Mays and like inner circle Hall of Fame, in my opinion, because even as such with his career, he's already got borderline credentials.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago with Stanton. It's like, if he can just hit that 500 mountain, he's in. But again, the injuries have kept him away from games. And if he wasn't injured so often, he'd already be at that number.
Yeah. And Buxton, I was looking at his line again. I mean, he's only had one season with more than 400 plate appearances.
Yeah.
I mean, that's atrocious.
Yeah.
And even with his lack of being on the field, he's still got 25 WAR.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's a positive player when he's out there. It's just he has to be out there.
28 home runs in 2022 with only 92 games played.
Twins kind of have that going for them because Royce Lewis did that too. Royce Lewis will come back for 4 days, hit 12 home runs, and then we won't see him again for the rest of the year. You're like, on a per game basis, he's the best player in the league. Yeah. Not really, because that's not really how baseball works.
JT, I want to jump back to an earlier topic.
Okay.
I was making the case for, and I don't know if you saw the comments, but I was making the case that the Reds should go after Eugenio Suarez. But just in a matter of point, if they were to make a trade for anybody, and they had to include one of their, because they've just got such a glut of infielders right now, if they had to trade Sal Stewart or Cam Collier to make an addition to their club, which of those two are you moving?
Just gun to my head, not looking at anything, probably Collier.
I went the other way. I think
Yeah.
I was the only one that went Sal Stewart then. I don't remember which way we
Really?
went, Tom. Yeah.
What was your reason?
Well, part of my reason is he's got more power, but also because
Uh-huh.
the club, I think, is going to hold on. Teams don't like to be wrong, and with him being a former first-round pick, I think that does matter to teams.
Isn't Stewart closer?
Collier's in Double-A. Where is Stewart in Triple-A?
No, he's not.
So they're both in Double-A, or
They're both. I think so. I think Stewart's a
I
Double A
gotta
as
pull it
well.
up. Let
I
me
think
pull
I
it
think
up.
I think Stewart's been there longer.
Those prospects are too well known. I don't know anything about them.
I think it
It's
comes
a
down
deep
to like
league
what the
degenerate.
offer is, right? Like,
Yeah.
you might like a guy a lot, but the other team wants the other guy. And, the thing is, if there's maybe like a 15% talent difference between the two, are you willing to lose the 15% of extra talent to get something better back? Or are you willing to like take a smaller piece and lose something less for the future?
I'm on my phone. I'm gonna do the quick phone research.
Let me. I've got Cal Collier or Cam. I keep calling him Cal. I don't know why. Cam
Cal
Collier.
Raleigh. You just got the big dumper on your mind.
Yeah. Since Collier has been in Double-A, he's played one game at third base and the rest at and 5 games at first base. So the team is telling you which one they view as better defensively for sure.
Yeah. I mean, their numbers are pretty similar. Collier, I mean, you guys, I don't know. Well, small sample sizes, but his ground ball rate sucks this year. 51%, 57%, 50%.
How do you view a guy like Yandy?
Yandy?
Because I know your philosophies on ground balls, but Yandy's been a pretty damn good player for his career with like a 55% ground ball rate.
Yeah, but he gets extra points for huge biceps.
Yeah.
You just know if he gets a hold of one, it's going somewhere.
Steven says Sal has been hot AF. I'm not sure if I should say it on there or not, but he's solid in Double-A.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Yandy. Yeah, I don't know. Yandy's just kind of a weird unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Yandy's your. No, this is going to sound weird, but he's like your poor man Vlad. I mean, Vlad does the same stuff. He can hit it a mile. It's just that half of the time it's going straight down. So, it's just how they get to it. I mean, you hear people talk all the time. He'd just get more lift. If he could just get more lift. What are you talking about, man? Like, these guys have got to where they are like they are. They're used to it. This is how their body works. Not everybody flows the same, twists the same, gets leverage the same way. Like, some guys just getting lift, it's not going to be as natural. They're not going to hit it as hard. Who knows? You're messing with something that this is comfortable for them. This works for them.
Yeah. When Baseball Savant released their new bat tracking this last couple of days, article, they were talking about Yandy being like one of the weirdest at bats that you have because his swing is just so different. But he's been in the league for 8 years and like he's obviously serviceable. He's been great for Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very good for them. And I think people forget how much he played third base earlier in his career. Mm-hmm. So he's not just been a first base exclusive guy in his career. And a 130 WRC plus. He's played 290 games at first base at third base and 370 at first base. So roughly half his games, I mean, close to half, 40%, maybe 40, 50, 45% or something like that of his games were at third base.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yandy's just a unicorn. He doesn't make any sense.
You're always gonna have those outliers.
Yeah, sometimes it just works. It's like Paredes. He hits 30 home runs. because he just somehow has an amazing ability to turn and pull the ball repeatedly. You know, he doesn't have big power. It's just, you know, some guys just they have a certain way that just produces. Can't explain it.
Yeah. It's just interesting to me, like looking for those outliers. Like I think it's fun sometimes to look at guys and be like, well, this is not normal, but like they're doing it. You know what I mean? It's just fun.
Yeah. Well, like Yandy, if he was a prospect hitting that many grounders, you wouldn't pay much attention. But he's produced over and over in the majors. You just take him at face value now. You're like, this is a quality bat. You know, I don't know what he's scoring in that points league. What is he, probably like 5.3 a game, something like that? You know, he's just a
I'm not
quality
sure.
major leaguer. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't own Yandy in the league. Neither Vlad or Yandy.
Or Bo Bichette, I'm guessing.
No Bo Bichette either. No, none of
Acuna is
them.
another guy that's always had such a high ground ball rate.
Yeah, What did he have in his crazy season? Like a 57% ground ball rate.
Yeah, it was pretty high. I'd have to pull it up to be
is such a
certain.
weird player to me.
But is it due to him? See, sometimes I think maybe these guys, their swing, they're uppercutting so much that if they miss, it just hits the bottom and goes straight down. Since they're at
Yeah.
such an angle coming through the zone. Like De La Cruz is another. I think he has a high ground ball rate.
Let me see. I have to pull it up. Bo Bichette's is like 55 or something, I think, on his career. I'd have to go back and look to be certain, but
Bo
Ellie
Bichette,
De La Cruz, I got him pulled up now. Ellie De La Cruz this year is a 54% ground ball rate.
Yeah, and his swing looks like that. You know, it looks like he's.
But that's not always terrible for a guy with a
zone.
lot of speed, too, though.
Well, we'll see. Chandler Simpson's going to be the one to tell us.
Yeah, well, he's got to play better defense.
Yeah. He's got to do a lot of things, but he can run. He's going to make me eat crow, pound the table on ground balls if he makes it.
We're kind of going off topic a little bit, but have you seen this guy like that? I don't really know a lot about him, but I wrote about him a couple weeks ago as being like a long shot prospect. This Aiden Longwell. Did you look at him?
Is that the ultra level guy you wrote about? What was it, last week?
23-year-old, yeah, in A+. He's hitting the ball. His ground ball rate is 27%. His fly ball is 46.
Wow.
Like this is the ultimate JT guy.
Yeah. What's his pull rate?
His pull rate's 47.5%.
I don't know. That's good stuff.
And he's got a 534 slug. I'm like, why are the Rockies not moving him to AA? Like,
how old is he?
23.
Isn't that a little old? Is he high A or low A?
A+.
A+. Okay.
And he comes out. He was a 17th
old.
round pick. He was a 17th round pick out of Kent State, so he's not got like pedigree in any shape or fashion. But for a MAC school, Kent State is by far the best baseball program. I mean, they've put together a lot of major league players over the years. Usually pitchers, though.
Yeah. He's doing a 909 OPS against lefties too.
Yeah, like I really want to see this guy get a chance at AA soon. Him and Jared Thomas. Why the hell are the Rockies not promoting those two guys? Like Jared Thomas is out of a major conference in college baseball and destroying A+. Like move these two guys up. And they've got, and whenever I wrote about Longwell, they have nobody in AA blocking him. Like it's like Zach Kokoska or something playing first base in AA. Like,
well, didn't they just fire someone? Didn't they just make a big change at the front office?
Yeah, their president resigned or whatever, or got fired. One of the two.
I thought that was at the end of the season. He was.
Maybe so, but
I think he was resigning at the end of the year. I think he's been with them for 30 years or something.
Yeah,
like that.
A long time.
Yeah. I don't know. Just you keep saying the Rockies. Why aren't they doing it? It just seems like it's par for the course for the Rockies to just not move guys at the right time, and it's
Well, and Jared Thomas, I think he was a second round pick, wasn't he?
He was a high pick, yeah. Like, I mean, they let Hunter Goodman hit 60 home runs in 2 seasons before they gave him a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and then they brought him up, and they shuffled his playing time, just totally nerfed him, and not, or the opposite of nerfing him. They just kept him on the bench and didn't let him play. And you barely have a major league roster to start with. Like, why not just give him a chance and let him hit? Like, that was the most confusing. It was the most confusing. And you didn't have anyone at catcher because I think they traded away Diaz at the deadline. So who are you playing? Like, why were you holding him back? And yeah, it's just Hunter Goodman was just frustrating for me. And I'm glad he's getting the playing time, and I'm glad he's showing that he can play Major League Baseball.
Longwell's line drive rate is almost the same as his ground ball rate. 26.7 line drive rate and 27.2 ground ball. Like,
what's his fielding percentage? Is he just terrible with the glove?
I didn't really look at his fielding numbers.
Baseball Reference has all that stuff.
Yeah, I usually only look at Fangraphs. I don't usually go to BREF.
Oh, you got to mix it up.
I want to watch this guy. I might have to tune into some of their games just to see this guy hit.
Yeah, I mean the batted ball splits are impressive. That's exactly what you want your guy to do. And that's a lot in the air. A lot of
He's
balls
got
in the
19
air.
doubles. That's a freaking shit ton of doubles. Like, I mean, prorate that out. That's 40 doubles on the year.
Yeah.
I wonder where he is on the leaderboard for total bases.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm sitting on a boat.
in the bay?
Yeah, I'm in Alameda, California.
All right. Well, guys, it's been fun tonight. Thanks for BSing about some baseball with me. I think I'll wrap this up. I'll kind of do a little circle around the room and let you guys give another take before we head out. A little final take action. Ty, lead us off here. What do you got? What's your last take of the night?
Just looking forward to some deadline stuff getting moving here. Looking forward to seeing some of these middling teams decide what direction they want to go in. I'm really high on the Cubs and on Detroit, as you guys have probably guessed the last couple of weeks. I talk a lot about these teams. I think the Tigers can only get better by adding right now. I think they've got such a great skeleton to their team right now that adding an impact bat and an impact arm can really, really change the look of the AL right now. So I'm looking forward to some moves being made and get some more trades happening. And once that happens, then maybe we get to see some of these younger guys getting moved back up and push into the next levels in their promotions and stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a fun first couple of weeks of July.
Absolutely. Luke, what do you got for us?
Yeah, Ash, I got a question for you. You were at the Yankees Reds game yesterday, right?
I was, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, who was batting leadoff for the Yankees yesterday?
Trent Grisham, and he got a bloop double first at bat.
Oh, did he? Did
you see that hit? That was not a double.
They gave him a double.
I mean, it was in the score sheet, I guess. But like,
they gave him a double. It goes in the stats forever.
I mean, it gets like 10 feet beyond second base.
But didn't he proceed to get 3 other hits in the game? And he went 4 for 6 for the game that you went to?
He just missed a homer too. Like in his second at bat, he pulled one down the right field line, and I was like, if that goes out, I'm never going to hear the end of this.
Yeah,
but it was foul.
Yeah. No, well, you're not going to hear the end of the fact that you went to a Yankees game and he went 4 for 6 right in front of you. He also had 2 home runs over the weekend. So I don't know. I'm starting to believe that this isn't just a hot streak. He's actually a good hitter, or he's just hitting well in the Yankees lineup. So
it's Grisham season 2.
Yeah.
JT, what do you got?
Well, I tuned in late, but this was a trade show. I want to see what the Giants do. I want to see what Posey does. Mm-hmm. I think he's trying to make splashes.
I do too, and I like. So far, I love him as an executive. Like, I love what he's doing in San Francisco.
Yeah,
I think there was a lot of fear amongst like the fantasy players and that kind of thing because they were worried he was going to turn it completely old school and go away from like the kind of be the antithesis of shoot, I forget the previous GM's name. That was like almost ultra analytics minded, and people were worried that he was going to go 100% the other direction, but he hasn't. He's done a lot of fun stuff in San Francisco. But anyway, get JT, take it and finish up what you were saying.
Well, that was my take.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I mean the Devers deal was a huge win for him in my opinion. You know, like those bats don't go there. You know, and to be able to get a bat like that, and they got Adames in the off season. You know, they need Chapman to come back. Ray's dealing. No, I think if he can bring someone else in, I don't know who. I don't have names. I don't have anything like that. You know, I think it would really help. I could drop a name. I mean, what about Alcantara? Is he available? Would Miami move him, or is he like the Damian Lillard of the MLB, where the Marlins just hold on to him forever and be like, "This is our guy. You know, he's the face of our franchise. We love him here." But that would be a guy that could do well there. Right? I think so. He could do well there.
Oh, any pitcher can do well there. Like,
yeah. Well, as long as Sandy's figuring it out, he could do well. Sandy that we'd seen the first 6 weeks, he can't do well anywhere. But if he's getting back to his old form, and the Giants can somehow make a deal, I think that'd be a huge win for them. Bolster that rotation with a guy who has a Cy Young under his belt.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Sandy would be awesome in San Francisco. I'm not sure if they. I don't know. I feel like that's not the destination that Sandy goes to, but he would do well there. My final thing tonight is Colorado promote Jared Thomas and Aiden Longwell to AA, please. Everybody watching, thank you for watching. Hit that like button underneath the video. If you're just stumbling across the channel for the first time, please hit the subscribe button. Neither of those things cost you anything. Totally free to do so. So help us out, please. And boys on the show, thank you for joining me tonight. It's been fun. As always, appreciate having you guys here with me to talk some baseball and BS a little bit. Appreciate all of you and have a good night.